This is a video on what I eat in a day as kind of a general, very common or very routine example of a meal. I'm doing this because this is what I do to keep my metabolic health in excellent condition. I just recently I got a whole bunch of tests at a clinic, and my basal but metabolic age is 26, which is literally half my age. Um, my A1C is 4.7. My insulin is 4. My triglycerides are 47, I think it was. Under 50 for sure. And these are general numbers for me. I've been testing them every year, and this is normal for me. I have a very healthy metab, and my liver function is excellent. My kidney function is excellent. Basically, all my markers are really good. So this is what I do to keep it that way. And I have autoimmune, so it's imperative that I do this. This is how I keep my autoimmune. This is a big factor as to how I keep my autoimmune in remission. In addition to the fact that I have to avoid certain foods. So regardless of blood sugar or anything else, there's certain things I have to avoid to not inflame my system or set off my antibodies, because I have Hashimoto's, so thyroid autoimmune. Okay, so first off, I am a true believer in restricted eating. So I eat within a restricted window. I generally don't eat breakfast. Um, I normally break my fast in the morning by late morning to early afternoon. And it varies honestly based on work and what I'm doing. I'm not really consistent about the time, but somewhere between 11:30 and 1:30 is when I'll first eat. Then I quit eating. I stop eating ideally by 5:36, or sorry, by 6:30. Sometimes it spills over to 7:30, but generally I don't eat past then. I try to eat earlier, but it depends on work and my husband's schedule, etc. So I'm not always able to do that as much as I want, but I definitely try to give my stomach several hours before I have to go to bed to not eat. Like, cut off eating several hours before bed, because that way my stomach can deal with the food before it's time to go to sleep. That is also very key to your circadian rhythm and your sleep patterns, etc. And also, if I eat too close to bedtime, I have trouble. So that's me. I do fast, so I try to fast pretty regularly. In addition to restricted eating, I try to fast, and every month or two, I will do a very long fast, and I mean 4 days or more. So for my body weight and size, I don't do extremely long 2 week or crazy fasts, but 3 to 4 days is typical for me, sometimes five. And that is adequate for me because I don't have a lot of fats. So obviously, if you have a lot more weight you need to lose, you can go longer, and it's beneficial. But for me, I also have to watch not doing my fast too long and end up kind of, your body will go for your lean muscle if you don't have any more fat to burn. Do you know what I'm saying? So that's something to watch for. I will do a whole video on fasting. There is so much I can tell you about fasting, and so much I know about fasting, and so much I've learned over the years about fasting. And there definitely is the right ways to do it and wrong ways to do it, but that's not really for this video. But I will do a video on that. I just need to get around to it as soon as I can. In terms of what I actually eat. Okay, so this is typical for me and my husband. So he generally does 4 eggs, 2 slices of bacon, nitrate free, grass fed. We're very clean about everything we eat. I want to make a point of that. Everything that I'm mentioning, grass finished, organic, very clean. We have a biodynamic farm here in England, fortunately, so we have access to some of the highest quality vegetables and meats you can possibly get, like really high quality, fortunately. But we're very strict about getting clean, no antibiotics, no hormones, no GMO, no soy, no corn, meats, etc. And same with vegetables. So for breakfast, that's generally what my husband does. For me, and we often eat a lot of chestnut or shiitake mushrooms. We do a lot of mushrooms. And for me, it's normally not. I normally don't eat breakfast during the week, so I alternate between eggs, or I will break my fast with sauerkraut and some green olives, and then I will do a large salad, and I mean a large salad. And in my salad, I don't use spinach because it's high in oxalates. I don't use kale because raw kale is actually not good if you have autoimmune Hashimoto's, and it has high oxalate content as well. So we don't actually do kale or spinach. We do stay clear or do very little high oxalate foods or high lectin foods. So high oxalate foods being spinach, rhubarb, almonds, kale, like I said, um, etc. High lectin foods would be legumes. We very rarely eat legumes at all, period. But bell peppers, nightshade vegetables, potatoes, tomatoes, those all have high lectins. So we don't do a lot of that at all. We will eat bell peppers sometimes, but it's not a routine, if you will. And sweet potatoes we sometimes do with dinner. So I'll do a salad at lunch, and then I will often, for extra protein, I will do sardines or I will do eggs. I eat sardines. I know some people are like, "Ugh," I get it. Okay, I get it. When someone first told me about sardines, I was like, "Oh, I won't touch them." But I actually got used to them, and they are one of the healthiest things in the world. My body loves them. So even if I'm not particularly like, I would take a pizza over sardines any day if I could eat pizza. But sardines are so healthy, and physically I feel terrific when I eat them, and they're fabulous for kicking you into ketosis. I've done sardine fasts when I've ever struggled with getting into ketosis or whatever, or I've had a bout of not being so clean or whatever, and I need to just clean my system out and get into ketosis, into deep ketosis before a fast or whatever. Sardines are amazing for that. So sardines are a healthy little fish, and they don't have high mercury because they're not a large fish. So whilst we love tuna, and my husband does do tuna a bit more than me, we watch for the mercury content, and that's critical when you eat larger fish. So that's kind of a general lunch for me, is the salad and sauerkraut and green olives or Kalamata olives. I love olives; they're like candy. You got to watch it on olives because often in the store you'll find olives with sunflower oil or rapeseed oil. You don't want that, so you have to get the stuff that's clean and in either olive oil or in brine, basically, to avoid any defeating the point. I mean, you're trying to eat clean and then they throw bad oils in it. It's very frustrating, but even on organic, clean stuff, you will often find sunflower oil, seed oils, maltodextrin, and these things are all bad. You do not want them. Maltodextrin is actually extremely glycemic, and it does mess with your microbiome, and it does massively spike your blood sugar. So I stay away from that. And we are very, very, very trained or knowledgeable in ingredients, and we read every ingredient. So we are very careful about what we put in our bodies, and watch for anything that is not, as an emulsifier, is a rapeseed oil or bad vegetable oil, is a preservative or whatever. Like, we steer clear of that kind of stuff. Okay, so then for extra protein, I am a big believer in getting enough protein. For my body weight and size, I'm 5'4", 5'4", and I'm 50. I range around 52 kilograms, uh, between 115 and 118 pounds. And for my weight, depending on my activity level, because if I'm really sedentary, which I often am, unfortunately, it's my one downfall. So I'm not. My husband is a terrific is terrific about exercise, and I, due to workload and schedule, is the one thing I'm really having trouble with. But that being said, for my weight, I need between around 80 grams of protein a day, and sometimes if I'm really active, 100 grams. So I shoot high on my protein. My sweet spot is around 75. If I go too low, which I've done before, I get problems. My fatigue gets worse. Yeah, I don't do well on low protein at all. And if I go too high, I actually get like toxic malaise. My uric acid goes too high. I get too acidic, and I feel off. So this is an important point, because I know some people will say, well, you can eat as much protein as you want because your body just gets rid of it. Yes and no. Your body gets rid of it, but it's actually very toxic and hard on your kidneys. So even if you have good kidney function, which I do, it's why strain them? It's like Even if you have good liver function, why dump your body with alcohol? Like, it's not, you don't need to do that. So there is a point where you can do too much protein, but most people honestly are doing too little protein. And that is actually the bigger problem in many cases. Unless you're a bodybuilder or you're already conscious of protein intake, most people are underdoing their protein. And as you get older, your body A becomes more inefficient about assimilating protein, and B needs more protein because your muscles naturally start to uh, dissipate, basically break down, atrophy. So you need lots of protein. Most people don't get enough. So I focus heavily on protein, and to supplant or get extra protein with my meal, if like I'm just a little bit more hungry that day or I'm not quite going to hit my target, I will do ancient nutrition bone broth protein or prime protein. You know, very clean bone broth proteins. Basically, I prefer the vanilla flavor of the ancient nutrition one, and it's just bone broth and vanilla essentially, bone broth protein and vanilla. That I will sometimes do. And what I also often do, like pretty much daily right now, is a green mix of Perfect Aminos by Body Health, a scoop of that. So that's all the essential amino acids, and they're very bioavailable, and your body utilizes most of it. And I will do greens with Perfect Aminos, and I will do some basil seeds, and I will do some Garden of Life fiber, probiotic fiber. It's a doctor formula. It's like pectins and stuff. Very good fiber. A balance of soluble and insoluble fiber. And yeah, and some glycine and and some glutamine. So I will actually make like a little gut balm, and super beneficial for your gut, super healthy for your digestion. And I find it's a magic because I don't necessarily always want to eat tons of uh, get way more calories because I don't need to because I'm skinny and I sit on my butt all day. So I prefer to do that over eating, you know, a bunch of broccoli and another salad because I already do lots of salads. But like overeating, I guess is what I'm trying to say in terms of caloric intake. I gotta watch it just because I'm sedentary. I just know my body, and if I eat too much, I just don't feel. I feel overfed. So that's what I do to help balance my protein or balance my protein and my fiber without overdoing the calories, if you know what I'm saying. And again, I never count calories. I just know when I'm eating too much because I will just feel like I've eaten too much. Okay, so then I don't eat after that for the rest of the day. And then at dinner time, if I do, so sometimes depending on what phase of my cycle in, I will even skip lunch and just go to dinner. And sometimes I will do the salad and the thing I described and dinner. So it depends, like in my luteal phase, and this is from women, you know, my metab is higher and I'm more hungry. So I tend to eat two meals instead of one and a half. But on normal days, I eat like one and a half. And I make sure I get enough protein in that one and a half meals and even in a restricted window. So I'm not under eating or malnourished or anything. I don't deny my body nourishment and the food it needs. I just don't overeat like most people do. Most people overeat. Honestly, they overeat. Like 3 meals a day and snacks, that is way too much food. You do not need to be doing that. It's not natural, just so you know. So that is one way I keep my metabolic health very good because I'm not overdoing it and I'm not underdoing it either. And I give the body, I focus the things I do put in my mouth is the quality of it. They're very nutrient dense foods, full of vitamins, full of minerals, full of protein, and full of the phytonutrients and things that it needs to support my system without overdoing with empty carbs, right? Okay. For dinner, a general average, very common dinner for us is going to be grass finished, and grass finished, not grass fed, because grass fed is actually deceptive. If you say grass fed on meat, it just means that they can actually just feed it some grass and generally feed it soy and corn for the rest of the time and call it grass fed. It's actually very deceitful. So grass finished is the key. That means they were literally raised on grass. So we do grass fed ground mince. I will often put together like a ground mince on the weekend with like shiitake mushrooms and onions and olive oil and some seasoning. And then we'll freeze that and we'll eat it throughout the week. So it's kind of a fast meal prep because both of us work full time. There's not a lot of time to cook. I love cooking. Any moment that I can cook. I love to, but I just don't have time. So we do kind of like a meal prep at the beginning of the week, and then we have basically that handles that ground mince we break up. So for that covers us for 2 or 3 days during the week. And then on other days where we don't have that, we'll do like a ribeye steak or something like that. So some salmon. And then sometimes I'll do avocado or guacamole with that mince and maybe a little bit of romaine lettuce and stuff just to give it some kind of like and some lime to make it kind of a Mexican salad, if you will, with some black olives. And then if I don't do that, sometimes I will do asparagus or we'll do broccoli or we'll do a little bit of sweet potato, just to give some vegetable as well and some nutrients. So that is actually a normal, typical meal, and we don't really, I don't really get bored of that. And it's interesting because I love variety in my diet, but I can do that a lot and still be fine. Otherwise, if I do feel like I need more protein or more anything, then I will do those protein drinks, like I said. But that doesn't happen much. Most of the time, I'm totally fine and I'm very well fed and I'm satiated. Now, for the meat, just so you know, like I eat a lot of meat, so I eat like a good portion. It's at least it's got to be at least 8 to 10 ounces for me, and we split, so he eats a lot too. I don't none of this like I eat a celery stick and I'm good. No, I eat a decent amount of food so that I'm well fed, but I also don't overstuff, and I try to spread my protein out a little bit by having the protein shake earlier in the day and then having a heavy meat meal in the evening at dinner time or whatever, so that my kidneys and body can process it well too, because you also don't want to, if you do have a lot of protein, try to space it out a little bit in that restricted window so that you don't overburden your digestion as well. Then for dessert, so very often during the week, we don't do dessert. So weekends is kind of more of a dessert thing if we do dessert. And our desserts are still angelic compared to most. So for desserts, what I will often do is take some berries, like blueberries and raspberries, if they have, and all organic, by the way, always organic, very important. And I'll put just a little bit, not a ton, not a bowl full of berries, but just some berries and some coconut flakes unsweetened and some coconut kefir. And then I put some inulin in it, and that is my dessert, and I absolutely love it. So like it's very clean. I also sometimes make homemade ice cream out of coconut milk. It's totally keto, low carb, no sugar in it. Our go-tos for sugars and sweeteners is allulose, monk fruit, and stevia. Allulose is they're all very good. They don't cause a lot of problems in your gut or dysbiosis, and they are very healthy, and do no damage to your blood sugar. From my experience as well, not just from my research. So that is kind of the go-to sweeteners. And then sometimes if, during the week, if I do want like a little something, I will do dark chocolates. I go for Lily's because it has no sugar in it and it's stevia, which is great, but it's hard for me to get because I can only get it in America. So in lieu of that, where I run out, then I'll eat some human dark chocolate, for example. So very high quality, clean. It has coconut sugar, but I only do like a little bit. Like we're talking like 2 or 3 pieces. We're not talking about a whole bar or even half a bar. We're pretty light on it. And then sometimes maybe I'll mix it with some macadamia nut butter, clean, no additives in it, macadamia nut butter, or some pecan. And sometimes with my ice cream during the weekend, if we do it, we don't do it every weekend, but when we do it, I will toast some pecans and with some allulose brown sugar, if you will. It's not brown, it's not sugar, it's sugar substitute. So maple and allulose and some cinnamon. And oh my God, it's amazing. So like, I love it. I mean, I'm in heaven. I have that's good enough for me. And all of these things, just I have worn a CGM, and I do regularly every month or two put on a CGM just to monitor where my blood sugar's at. I'm not diabetic at all, as you can tell, or as you know from what I told you in my tests. The thing is high blood sugar spikes for me set off my heart and set off tachycardia for me because of a heart issue that I have, a genetic one that I need to get. We're in the process of getting treatment for. We'll probably need surgery to handle, but I have to watch it on spiking my blood sugar too much, because that will absolutely kick off an episode for me, and I don't want to be in the emergency room. so so I have to do that. And the other thing is, for autoimmune, if you have autoimmune, you absolutely do not want to be spiking your blood sugar, because it's inflammatory. The other trick that I do, there's a couple of other tricks that I do. So I described my dessert. There's a reason I put inulin and, sometimes basil seeds or flax seeds in with my fruits. And that is and coconut flakes, and sometimes nuts too, like pecans, specifically pecans, pistachios, and macadamias are my go-tos. Sometimes some walnuts. I don't do a lot of almonds, and I don't do a lot of hazelnuts because they're high in oxalates. And I stay clear of cashews, and very rarely will do some peanut. Peanut is not really good either. So we concentrate on the more healthy nuts if we do nuts and when we do nuts. And then the reason I put that into my dessert is to prevent and dampen blood sugar spikes. So it's a little trick you can actually do when you eat, is two things to just even more to take it to the next level of not spiking your blood sugar and not constantly jacking your insulin. If you're going to have any kind of carby stuff like a sweet potato or fruit or something like that, do it in one period of the day. So like with your biggest meal. So like during breakfast, don't do any carbs. Keep it very fat and protein. During your dinner or during your other one big meal of the day, that's when you can kind of do a cheat, if you will. And maybe eat some sweet potato or eat some starchy vegetables, or and after your protein, by the way, after your fiber and your protein, do that. So it's also the sequence of how you eat that makes a difference. So if you're going to have sweet potato, eat your salad greens with some lemon oil, or some olive oil and lemon juice, which is generally, I make my own dressings, by the way. So that's generally what I put on my salad, is homemade dressing, which is olive oil, lemon juice, and some herbs. And then eat the salad, and then eat your protein, and with the fat. You want fat protein. Don't get lean meats. You need fat. Okay, you need fat. You need fat for your hormones. You need fat for your cell health. Fat is actually very good for you. It needs to be clean fat, not bad fat. Okay. And then eat your sweet potato. And what will happen is that will just help dampen the effect of the spike, because sweet potatoes raise your blood sugar, just they're starch. So as much as they have a lot of healthy nutrients in them, they are starch, and they will spike your blood sugar. So also go easy on it. I go for half a sweet potato. That's it. If you have a big body and you're burning a lot, okay, maybe you can do a whole one. But if you're petite and you don't want to be overeating, then I say do half of one. You'll still get benefits and the nutrients, and you won't get the extra baggage, literally and otherwise. Um, and then if you're going to have fruit, for example, add some fiber in it to just dampen, or add some protein in it to dampen the glucose spike. So if you can do dairy, whole milk Greek yogurt is great. I can't do dairy, so I have to do non-dairy for everything because of my autoimmune. But if you can do dairy, I highly recommend cottage cheese or Greek yogurt, which is very high in protein. And I mean whole milk Greek yogurt with no sweeteners. I'm not talking about stuff with fruit and sugar in it. Add your own sugar, add your own fruit, and use allulose and monk fruit. You don't want to have sweetened yogurts. They're basically candy. We don't do any fruit juice at all. Our go-to drinks is literally homemade sparkling water. We have our own water carbonator, if you will, and we use our osmosis water filter, or we get water from the farm, which is very clean, from the biodynamic farm here. Very clean well water that's super filtered. And we then carbonate that, and I drink that all day long. I love carbonated water. And then I also do, I make my own water kefir. So we often drink homemade water kefir for extra probiotic benefits. I do sometimes eat natto or kimchi. I'm not heavy on the natto because I don't, or natto, however you say it, the Japanese fermented soybeans, because I don't do a lot of, and they're non-GMO, the ones I do, but I don't want to do a lot of soy because soy can mess with your estrogen levels and generally isn't that great. But make sure it's non-GMO. And then I do some kimchi as well. So I try to eat fermented foods. I even make my own fermented pickles here sometimes. I eat cucumbers fermented. Okay. Anyhow, so fermented foods is something we try to get a lot of or get into our diet in some way. My husband will often for his lunch or whatever he's going to eat, he'll do some tuna and some salad and some sauerkraut. That's a very routine kind of snack for him. And then he will eat what I described. We'll eat the same thing at dinner time. The only difference between our diets is he will do some high quality cheese from the biodynamic farm. Again, everything we eat is super clean. I just can't do dairy, so he will do some cheese. But beyond that, we eat exactly the same thing, and he is extremely healthy too. And for his age, he's in spectacular shape. So, also sometimes I do regularly drink water, sparkling water with apple cider vinegar and cinnamon. I just find it really refreshing. I used to do it sweetened, but I actually don't even put sweetener in anymore. And one thing I will tell you, I want to just put this in perspective. I used to be a standard American diet queen when I was a teenager. Okay. So, like, fast food, cereals for breakfast, Coca Cola, gummy bears, Milky Way dark chocolate bars. I mean, yeah, talk about a junkie. That was me. I mean, luckily my mom to some degree did buy organic food and we drank milk that wasn't water flavored milk or milk flavored water. Like we drank milk that was whole fat. And we did go to the organic grocery store, but being a kid, I'd go to the liquor store, the convenience store, and go buy, sugar and candy. And that was like, oh my God, I look back on it, I was so bad. And about the age of 37, I would say, ish. And then in my mid teens and later years, I was just, you know, under pressure a lot, always working very hard, never had time to eat properly, was always eating on the run often, living on coffee. At one point, I was a smoker, so I did smoke for about 10 years, and I sometimes had moments of smoking a lot. So I have not always been a saint or healthy at all, okay? I mean, my halo is, it has taken a while to get there, okay? So I have been there and done that. And I can tell you that one thing that immensely helped me is I did the purification rundown and I felt so amazing after doing that program that I realized how sick I was. Like I didn't realize how bad I felt until I did that program, and then I was like, wow, I really need to change my diet and I need to change my habits. I need to stop all the sugar and the this and the that. And that's when I really started to get passionate and interested about health, nutrition. And at that point forward, I really started changing my diet. But it took a while to peel back layers. And the more I studied and stuff, naturopathy and diets and stuff, and the more I studied functional medicine, and the more I got into this, and the more I got into health, the more I stripped away what I was eating or things I were doing, or I was eating things I thought were healthy, like lots of spinach, and then I realized that they're actually causing me harm because of the oxalate intake. It was a learning discovery for me, and eating all these things that I thought were healthy, but they were actually just spiking my blood sugar constantly. You'll hear people say you should eat honey and you should put fruit and honey together. It's so healthy for you. Oh my God, like talk about a blood sugar spike. Yes, inherently those things might have great things in them, but if you're combining them in that method and that way, and you're focusing on high glycemic stuff, no matter how healthy it is, it's going to cause damage to your body. It is not healthy. So you have to balance these things so as not to overdo the blood sugar, because blood sugar is keeping your blood sugars healthy is crucial to keeping your metabolic health excellent. So yeah, so it took years for me to clean up, and I tried every diet there is in between to kind of find my sweet spot. And the sweet spot where I feel my best, do my best, and what got my autoimmune into remission was the diet I described. It's sort of a low carb paleo, if you will. Like we eat all whole foods, all clean, but we don't eat every food that's in the paleo list. Like we don't eat spinach, for example. And it isn't I judge my carb intake based on my stress levels and how I'm doing. So generally, I'm very low carb. I focus on low carb, and I mean by low carb, I mean under 100 grams of carb a day. But if I'm under a lot of stress or it's kind of right near my period, I will do a bit more carb and I will be more lax about it because your body, when it's very stressed, you don't want to be overstressing it further by restricting carbs, okay? Because it can, and I don't do fasts around that time either, like right before my period or when I need to give my body the most support for hormone changes and stuff. I don't do fast because it can absolutely spike my cortisol and cause, for me, it's a real problem because it spikes my tachycardia. So I have to do it, time my fasts around my hormone cycles and my stress levels so that I don't add to stress, if that makes sense. But once you get cleaned up and once you are healthy, you won't want to go back. You will definitely be put off by bad quality fast food, rancid oils, cheap ingredients. You will notice it right away, and you will definitely react to it because it'll be like it's. I don't know how to describe it. It's like going from never smoking to taking your first puff of a cigarette, and you feel that your body immediately rejects the toxicness. Okay, that's kind of the best analogy I can give. And that is really what being clean and healthy is in relation to you know cereals and fast foods. And if I have occasionally on occasion had some fast food, not even recently, but a couple, like 2 years ago, I had to go because we had no option, and I felt sick after eating it, and all I had was like a hamburger or something, and I felt sick. I did not feel right. So yeah, you can definitely, you'll notice right away for yourself, and you won't want to compromise because you will feel so good just feeling clean and healthy and having your metab in good health that way. There's nothing like it. So I highly recommend it. And again, you can do everything right and there might still be things wrong, but like for my example, for example, like I do have a heart issue. It is genetic and I am currently dealing with that. But if I didn't do everything that I was doing to keep healthy, my situation would be so far worse than it is. So no matter what, you're more right being healthy because you won't have as many things go wrong if something does go wrong, if that makes sense. And then stress is always a factor, and that isn't diet. And also toxics in your environment. We're very clean. We don't do any perfumes. We don't do any scented candles. We don't have any plastics that we put our food in. We don't use toxic cookware. We're very health conscious kind of across the boards. We use an osmosis water filter, like I said. These things are all very important. So anywhere and every way you can get toxins out of your environment is worth it. And I've had my heavy metals tested and my toxic burden tested, and I come out very low, and my inflammation markers are very low. So my CRP and stuff, my inflammation is very very low. Like it always comes up as basically nothing on my test. So it's worth it. It's really really worth it, and I highly recommend it. And I hope this has been helpful.